Monday the 14th of December, being held remotely by Zoom. And yes, I do see that we have the markup now. So this is being recorded so that it can be viewed later from the council website, but it's also being streamed live on YouTube. So the first item of our agenda is just really to establish that the meeting's being recorded. The second item, any apologies for absence, Nick?
Yes, Chairman, we have apologies for absence from Councillor Hunt, who's otherwise engaged, and also from Councillor Newton, who's unable to make the meeting, and we have Councillor Rosemary Bolton as a substitute for her tonight.
Right. Thank you, Nick. So item 3 then, are there any declarations of interest from any of those present? Councillor Ruffles.
Chairman, I'm a member of the board of the Harford Theatre, and so I think I mustn't take part in the discussion about that application, but I need guidance from Nick. Will you put me into a waiting room, or shall I just go off record?
I can put you in a waiting room. Yes, when we get to that item,
that would be
bring it back.
best. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. And Councillor Bolton.
I'm a member of East Herts District Council, and although I'm not on the planning committee for that, I am vice chair of the licensing committee. So I don't think I should take any part in the any licensing discussion you have.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Any more before we move on? Okay. So item 4 is to approve the minutes of the last subcommittee meeting held on the 30th of November. So
Proposed, Chairman.
Councillor Ruffles. Sorry, sorry, I missed. Did anyone speak?
I'll propose if no one else is keen.
Thank you, Councillor Ruffles. Yes, so Councillor Ruffles is proposing those to be an accurate record. Do I have a seconder?
Yes, me.
Thank you, Councillor Lynch. And we just need to take a vote if everyone's happy with those minutes. Councillor Pinkham, were you happy with those minutes?
I'm sorry.
Indeed,
I'm delighted about the minutes.
Okay, we can move on then.
Finest minutes I've ever seen.
We'll move on to paper A, which matters from the minutes not dealt with elsewhere. And Nick, are there any updates for us?
Chairman, we do have some updates. So firstly, on the development of the Rareberry Farm, that is, so I've been speaking to the leader regarding that issue, and it is a complex matter. I think East Herts planning officers are busy trying to undertake some actions, and one of the results of those actions tonight is on the agenda in terms of the planning application for the barns, and in terms of trying to work, we're trying to look at the various things that are outstanding issues on that site. So a couple of things to cease. I understand there was a question regarding camping that has now ceased. The tea room apparently is not a tea room as such there. It's just tea refreshments are offered to guests when they visit, as in tours of the site. And I think the caravans are now removed in terms of the outstanding action, as far as I'm aware. So, but I am getting updates now from East Herts Council on the matters of concern. Okay.
And the Christmas tree sales?
That hasn't been mentioned actually on the update I received.
Indeed, it hasn't. No, but I think we have expressed concerns on this committee in the past about all sorts of trading activity that's going on that site that's not licensed, and so to suggest that it's all been dealt with now, they continue to flout the trading regulations and so. Yes. My feeling, I don't know about the rest of the committee, is that that we have an action to continue to monitor the unlicensed activities that happen there and to report them and to put pressure on the district council to act in a more in a more timely fashion, because quite often the horse is bolted by the time. I mean, glamping in December is not a great activity, you know. So no wonder it ceased. Sorry, Councillor Ruffles.
Well, I was just going to say, Chairman, I hope that there are better communications that Nick has now got with East Herts Council. That's the crucial thing, and it was lacking for so long. But of course, I think what we don't know is which of the activities that we see are in fact not subject to controls of licensing or planning and are perfectly legit. If only we had a clearer idea of the picture of the activities and the way in which they're being viewed at East Herts from a legal point of view, I suppose, using a strong term, it would be better. But it may well be that some of the things that people talk to us about are perfectly legit, and others that we think may not be. So if only we could separate out those a little bit more in dialogue with East Herts to know exactly what is permitted without need to apply, as it were, that would be better.
Nick, could we update the action on paper A then to reflect that you know, we'd like more clarity, or perhaps the district council could confirm to us what activities they are investigating that are unlicensed, what unlicensed activities they're investigating. That might be. We know it's complex.
I just wonder, I mean, if I hear everyone sort of saying, let's put some more pressure on them. I mean, one way of doing that would be to seek a meeting with at member level with the district council on this matter. Because if we seek a meeting, then you can assume that those people who come to it will be properly briefed.
Nick, are we entitled to request such a meeting?
I can ask if it Chairman, I can ask if an officer would wish to would be able to come and to speak to the committee, to speak to councillors about that.
Yeah. Obviously, it would be a virtual meeting, so
yeah,
you know, from that point of view, it would be helpful. Councillor Terega, you're on mute, but
and I are councillors for Seal. I would be more than happy to attend such a meeting. I am concerned about the site. It's a mess, really.
Yep. So, Chairman, just Chairman, I have been reassured that the visits will be ongoing in the new year, so they are continuing monitoring the site and taking appropriate action. So I'm sure they'll be willing to have a meeting with members and to update everyone on the situation.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Nick. Yeah, perhaps we could just seek a meeting to clarify what unlicensed activities are going on or whatever, and let's see how that. If someone could attend the planning meeting, that would be ideal, really, because that allows all councillors then to be involved in that. Thank you, Nick. So we do move on to item 6, which is statements from members of the public.
Chairman,
oh, excuse me, Councillor Ruffles.
Sorry, the second one, the middle one on our list, the internally illuminated sign. I did mention last time that there is a new internally illuminated sign immediately opposite Pound Stretcher. I don't know whether members have had a chance to look at that. It's above Costa Coffee, and I think perhaps we ought to bracket the two together in our correspondence with East Herts. It seems a bit silly to be pursuing one and for us not to take an interest in the other.
I think perhaps, Nick, it ought to be added to our action list as a separate item. Obviously, they're different landlords or tenants or whatever. But yes, if we're objecting to an eternally illuminated sign on one side of the street, clearly there's one on the other side of the street that needs to be investigated as well. You got a note of that, Nick?
Yes, I have. Thank you.
So, Ms. Hunter, we do now give over the floor to you. Just to, as you know, you have 3 minutes to make your presentation regarding the application for the rare breeds farm. So we've obviously seen quite a lot of correspondence already from a number of local residents, all of whom object and have given quite a lot of detail. So perhaps, you know, you only really need to summarize what we've already seen.
No problem. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Joanne Hunter. I'm a resident of the Goldings estate, and I would like to ask the councillors to consider opposing this application of the 3 barns. Applicant, as you know, has had 2 prior applications for planning permission, both denied because of the impact on the historic site and the fact she was not able to show it was a viable rural business. However, this new application is for permitted development, which would not require a heritage impact assessment or an environmental impact assessment. As we know, this is a Grade 2 registered park, a protected view, and is a nature conservation site, and would seem only right that it should have such assessments done on it. It's a stunning, beautiful park, as I'm sure you're all aware, and I think we need to make sure it remains so. The proposed structures, which are to house livestock and slurry, will be in close proximity to open water and within 400 metres of residential housing. It states in the application these would not be seen. However, the sheer size of the buildings, I'm sure, would be seen from the entrance to the approach to Goldings Estate, from the public footpaths that wind through the woodland and through the estate and the local residents, not only being visually abhorrent, but also I can only imagine the smells of the houses nearby would be far from desirable. As we spoke earlier, after applications were denied, the applicant went on to build several structures, and of course it's be very interesting to speak to the district council to find out about legitimate and non-legitimate trading activities that are going on there. It's become everything that seems to, any structure that goes up or event that is planned there seems to be very detrimental to this outstandingly beautiful park. And although these structures are historical, they do go to show the lack of concern, I think, for this site. The size of the buildings would be just under 1,000 square feet, as shown on the plan. This doesn't allow for hard standing, doesn't allow for road access, pathways to the barns, and so I therefore think it will be a larger impact on the site than actually stated. Buildings will be 7 metres high, suggests a double-storey capacity, and the suggested use does not require such large structures. The number of livestock has been exaggerated here. 183 sheep, there are 70. Cattle, there are 15. It's a huge concern that this could eventually go to change of use application and houses could be built here. And I think it's imperative the historically and environmentally important site is protected now and into the future, so we don't lose it forever. Thank you for your time. I believe my 3 minutes.
Thank you, Miss Hunter. Yeah, you did very well there. Yeah. Perfect.
Shall I
Okay.
mute myself?
So if you'd like to mute yourself,
I
yeah,
would.
thank you. So although it's on Annex C, Paper C, it's the last item on Paper C, I think it probably would be a good idea to deal with that application first. So save Miss Hunter having to wait right till the end of our meeting. Nick, I don't know whether you can get the application up on screen. So obviously the location plan with the 3 barns shown at the bottom of the page there. Does anyone want to make a start here? It's all gone very quiet.
Well, I don't mind saying something about this, because looking at the material that's produced by the applicant, I mean, at least half of it seems to be about the mill race, which didn't seem to me to have anything to do with the application, which a lot of us would be in favour of something being done about. But I don't quite understand the relevance of that material on the in the application, and unless it's to show that the concern is to do with it being a boundary to the land, which is animal proof, and indicates that the commitment to the mill race that the owner apparently has is something to do with their farming credentials. But I wouldn't mind anyone else explaining to me why that's important.
Anyone else got any more comments? I mean, I might just start by saying I actually agree with most of the comments put forward by Ms. Hunter. It's Green Belt, which immediately, you know, as well as being a historic park, and this clearly would have an impact on the openness of the Green Belt. There's very little information about access, about hard standing, about some sort of road or track that would have to be constructed to give access. If they're storing slurry, then that slurry has to be transported. The whole thing is, to my mind, not acceptable in any shape or form. And the only other comment I would make is that one of the, I don't know whether people have looked at some of the correspondence from neighbours, but there's there was one where there is another local person who has animals on Goldings and doesn't need anything like the size of these buildings for the welfare of their animals, and the idea that there's no justification for scale and size of those barns, and there's no economic case made that there's a proper business, you know, that there's sustainable business there either. So I'm against it personally.
I totally support you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I agree. I'm concerned about the proximity to residents. And you've got the nearest access from a road is the Bramfield Road, which, as everyone knows, is quite narrow. You've got the cemetery opposite. So there's a lot of parking on that road for people visiting the cemetery. I'm quite concerned about the access to them and the need for these buildings, actually. Why do we need to be storing slurry? Nice.
Councillor Ruffles.
Chairman, I guess the agricultural need is really the essential point that the applicant will have to make, and we've covered that. But there is also the fact that they are on rising ground as viewed from the Goldings estate. So the visual impact, notwithstanding the fact that at the moment there are structures there, I think that's quite significant. And Ms. Hunter has pointed out to us the size, the height in particular of the structures. I hope we could point out something about the landscape element, particularly when viewed from the Goldings estate, which is itself a protected view, as it were.
There also was a comment about the scale that is permitted to make an application of this nature. So they're seeking a permission rather than a planning application, and it's right on the cusp of the scale that is allowed before full planning application has to be sought. And that's without the hard standing, without the access roads and all the rest of it. And I think that in itself, the scale of it is such that it would be inappropriate to consider this application, you know, in terms of a you know, permission rather than full application. But I think it's a strong objection, Nick, and I hope you've got all those comments. Obviously, when you produce the draft, I can just check that we covered everything off. Unless you want to run through what you've got, Nick.
Chairman, I've got a long list of concerns and that have been raised from the committee. So if you want me to go through them, I'm happy to tidy them up and send them through.
Yeah, well, I'll see those in draft and just check that we've got all fronts covered. So I think now we need to go back to paper B. And the first item on our agenda is the Hertford Theatre. And I think that means you've got to put Councillor Ruffles in the waiting room.
Yep,
I was going to say on the naughty step. But,
1 second. Right. I get back to my. I'm in the wrong screen. Huh? Oops. More. Right. Where is he? Here it is.
so this is obviously quite a.
Chair, are you all right with me staying in here, or do you want me to go off? I'm a member of Eats Heart, although I'm not on the board, the same as Councillor Ruffles.
Nick, what's your advice?
If Councillor Bolton can put herself on mute,
Okay.
that'd be fine, I think.
At the moment, we've still got 3 barns up, Nick. I'm hoping we're going to see a theatre shortly.
Yeah, theatre shortly. Hold on a second. Back. Just flipping between different papers. Right.
Yeah. So just by way of introduction, I'm sure everyone's taken some time to look at this information. There's an awful lot of it. The design and access statement in 9 parts, was it? Covered off a lot of the elements, and also showed some 3D images of what it's going to look like. So does anyone want to kick off?
Can I seek clarification, Mr. Chair?
Of course.
That we are not discussing the financial or social implications of this development.
Sorry, Councillor Ruffle. Councillor Terega, you're breaking up a little bit.
Oh, sorry, are we just clarify that we're not discussing the financial or social implications of the project, strictly what it will look like, and does it fit in the site?
Yeah, obviously the impact it might have on employment, and is a factor which, as a town council, we should consider. So I don't think, although obviously primarily our interest is in the look of it and whether it's an appropriate design for that location, all the rest of it. Yes, of course, as a town council, we're interested if it's also offering enhanced employment opportunities. That's quite important as well.
Well, it seems to fit the a mark on most things, and it's not unpleasant.
It is a very large structure, isn't it? There's some 3D images from sort of various angles, from the different from Maidenhead Street and from as I say, from different views. I have to agree overall that I don't think, I mean, it's obviously modern, but so is the existing structure. And overall, I think actually with the sort of the brickwork they're proposing, which is sort of textured, because there's a sort of relief to the brickwork, if some of you have sort of seen the detail, does try to at least break up what would otherwise be a pretty 2 very large walls of brickwork. But that's where the cinemas are going to be, so I can't really see how they can break that up. Councillor Terega.
Yes, I think the architects have done an amazing job to squeeze so much into that space. But therein lies the problem. It is a completely oversized project. It's a monolithic structure against the river, which, when we compare that also to Birchley Green, which has a massive structure against the river, it's totally out of proportion to the site, really. I mean, I do have problems with, they don't seem to have heard the guy in the cinema specifically about simultaneous release, where the first release of films will not exist anymore in the future, because film producers are going straight to streaming in parallel to the release of the film to cinema. So that dents the financial case. But the primary point I would make is the massive structure against the river, and it's totally out of proportion. They've done an amazing job to squeeze so much in, and therein lies the problem, whether it's grip or not.
Personally, I don't agree, Tony. There's a lot that's been designed to get in there, and yes, it has put a lot in a particular space, but I think it will fit there. It's something that will enhance the town and give a structure to people visiting, coming and using. I think it will bring people in.
Yeah, well, the second issue, of course, is parking, which has been talked about before. I mean, I just think it's the wrong site for those two reasons. Too big a structure for this location against the river, kill the river in that location, and the parking is definitely an issue. Such a big project. I mean, if you go to St Albans, they have the whole council parking within 50 meters of the Alban Arena, which, by the way, of course, this site will compete with the Alban Arena. I'm not sure it will do so successfully.
I mean, I'm of a similar view to Councillor Lynch. I think it's a great amenity for the town, and I do feel actually that even though, as you rightly say, with a lot of films being streamed and so on into people's homes, I think there still is a place for. Thank you, Nick. They're the images I was referring to. I think there still is a place. I mean, these are not super big cinemas. You know, they're on the smaller scale, which I think will prove to be very popular. Parking is an issue. I can't deny that. That's a sort of town-wide issue. But I think overall, I'm certainly supportive of this. I also like the I like the Riverside Walkway, that additional access they're putting down the side of the building. That means you'll be able to walk along by the river.
Yes, I mean, obviously,
and the external seating for the cafe, I think, is a nice.
Yes, I mean,
well, sorry, Councillor Toega.
The architects have done a very good job within the brief. I agree. And as a Green Councillor, I should be saying yes, people shouldn't drive, and they should be arriving at certain means. I do think, though, that writing off a 10-year-old building is part of the cost of this project, and the cost of it will generate a financial burden for the next administration. I suppose we're not judging that today. I mean, it's architecturally it's brilliant. Financially, I'm not so sure. In terms of other priorities, but that's not what we're judging here today. So I'm happy to go along with what you're saying, because architecturally, I deliver a lot.
Nick, I like the image that you just had there. I was just going to refer to that.
That one.
Yeah, there was a before and after. So on the right-hand side there, for instance, before is just a smaller image, and the computer-generated one is below. And I, from the rear at least, I know that obviously it is a large structure, but I think actually it's bearing in mind the sort of the existing tower at the rear of the site already. I think actually it's okay. It fits in.
Yes, it does. I mean, they've kept that. That's great because of the view from. We haven't got the view from the castle here. From the castle, it's quite discreet, which with the mound and that tower. I think they've done brilliant, as I say.
Can I
Councillor Pinkham?
Yeah, I'm just going to. My party doesn't agree with this project at all in terms of priorities, but that's not what I want to talk about tonight, and I'm not going to argue with any what people have been saying about the aesthetics of the building. I've got little to complain about in relation to that. But what I've got to complain about is the transport evaluation that was being done in relation to the site. And it's something that comes up. We see this happening developer after developer, not just this occasion. The mere fact that a bus runs past the place twice a day is indicated as there being adequate public transport. And this is primarily, and will remain primarily, a nighttime venue. There is no public transport in Hertford of any, in terms of the town access to this site by bus. There should be, for all sorts of reasons, partly because it would help bring people home from work as well. But at the moment, there isn't. And if the district council is going to promote a major draw like this in the centre of the town, I don't think the parking is by any means a worry. There's plenty of parking at night in Hertford, providing people are willing to walk half a mile to it. I don't have any problem with that. My problem is there's no alternative to driving to it. Now, it is not beyond the wit of the district council to get into a dialogue with the county council about the funding of local bus routes in the evening. And I think that as a town council, what we should be saying is, I may welcome all sorts of aspects of it, but we're not at all convinced by the public transport statements, and there should be proper public transport.
I think, thank you, Councillor Pinkham. That's helpful, and I think perhaps we should make reference to the fact that as a largely nighttime venue, there is limited public transport currently available, and that is of concern.
Agreed.
I did have a few design points just to consider, but Councillor Toega.
Please go ahead. I was going to talk about the hydroelectric.
Yeah, that's a subject of a separate application, I think. So, and I think we have considered it and welcomed it largely.
Yes, but I mean, the point about that is that I think it was Councillor Ruffles who 15 years ago was photographed for the Mercury outside there, and we still haven't got it. So, I mean, I know it's a separate application, but I mean, really, it's an integral part of the building in a way.
Well, again, perhaps we could just, Nick, I don't know, do you know, was there an action point from that point of view from the previous application? Councillor Toega's memory is better than mine, I'm afraid.
Chairman, no, to be honest, I can't remember.
No.
I
think we need to consider them as discrete items, I'm afraid, Councillor Toega.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. No, the main comment I was going to have in terms of design was just the internally illuminated signage, and there were a couple of nighttime views of the front entrance, and both the main Hertford Theatre sign above the door, and also I think there's a big sort of banner poster sort of thing that's shown as being internally illuminated, and that obviously doesn't meet our guidance in terms of the design of signage. So I do think we need to highlight that.
Okay.
But overall, I don't know whether we can we say that Councillor Toega, I know that you're uncomfortable with this. But overall, does the committee welcome this development?
Yes.
I can't say that because of I've got nothing against the design that's being produced, but I can't welcome the development. But I'm not in the majority.
No, indeed. All right. Nick, I mean, there's a few comments there. Do you want to summarise what you've got there?
Can I just say one more thing? Sorry, in terms of timing as well, given the only comment I'll make about COVID-19 is that socially we need it to remain open because there is nowhere to go. Once it is over, people will need to have it closed for a year, just at the time when we're trying to emerge from this terrible thing that's happened. The timing is not right either. It's the money and the timing is just not right. As well as the transfer for this.
Councillor Toega, although you know, and I sympathise with your comments, and you're right that I mean the theatre's been closed now for 9 months, you know, and it's not likely to open certainly in the near future until this pandemic is behind us. But I think we've got to take a long-term view from the point of view of you know, in the longer term, this is going to be a long-term benefit for the town. There's never going to be a right time to do it, in my view. We you know, it is, you're right, quite a key amenity for the town, but at some point I think we have to bite the bullet and say, let's upgrade this for you know, to give it life for the next 20 years.
Agreed.
Yeah. So Nick, again, I don't know, had you made a few notes you could share with us?
Yes, thanks, Chairman. Yes, I can go over my notes, committee and Chairman. So I have here that the committee felt that it's a large structure, but fits in to the area. And the view from the castle grounds is quite discreet. In terms of transport, there's a concern from the committee regarding the public transport, and as this is largely a nighttime venue, the limited public transport available.
Right.
Okay. There's also concern regarding the internally illuminated sign or signs, and that doesn't fit within the town council's guidance. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, I mean, I think it's worth adding that you know, that the design seems to have incorporated, you know, a wide range of amenities in quite a confined space. Or, you know, and the committee welcome this. And perhaps it is. I know the answer to this before I even say it, but I don't know whether when they come to consider the construction phases, whether any facility will be able to remain open whilst they're enlarging, you know, and adding to the structure.
Are we going too far here? I mean, outside our remit. I mean, I certainly believe that a provision should have been made by putting a temporary building on the car park site next to the theatre, so that some form of artistic endeavour could continue during the building of it. But I'm not sure whether that goes beyond the remit of the. I mean, I was closely involved with the redevelopment of Alexandra Palace when it burnt down. And the first thing that the council did was to ensure that a temporary structure was raised. These are relatively easy things to do, though they do cost money, of course. And it allowed a certain amount of activity to take place while the building was being reconstructed. And I certainly feel that that's what Hertford deserves. And if we're going to have this quite substantial development, some provision should be being made during that development.
Okay, Nick, if you could perhaps add a comment then about. Thank you, Councillor Pinkham. Yeah, and I think that's welcome. So, in addition to, you know, if anything could be kept open, or you know, alternative temporary facilities.
Councillor Pinkham, can I just ask you, where would you see this temporary structure being sited?
I'd put it on the car park.
So it's in Andrew Street behind.
Yes. I mean, that's exactly where I would put it. It's a small car park, it's not much use, frankly, and there are plenty of other car parks at the moment. I would put it there. But
I'd welcome open air theatre. I'd welcome all sorts of things. You know, I think we really ought to put the problem to the developers to consider, you know, what alternative temporary facilities they could, you know, provide. And yes, there is a cost, but I think the town does, as Councillor Pinkham rightly said, I think we deserve the town deserve it. So, are there any other comments before we move on? We're going to move on to 11 Port Hill. Thank you, and perhaps you could readmit Councillor Raffles.
Hopefully he's back. Yep, be back.
Okay, so by way of background, there's already been an application for 11 Port Hill that we considered previously. It was objected to because of the scale and the fact that it would change the character of this 2-bed period cottage in sensitive part of the conservation area. And that was withdrawn, that application. And so this is a new application now. So if you remember, this is where the access goes down the side of 11 Port Hill to a number of small cottages at the rear, 9A, B, C, D, and E.
This application.
Quite concerned that there were going to be parking spaces all across the frontage of this new development and interfere with access for those properties at the rear. They've now changed the design. You see, if you look at the southwest elevation as we're looking at it there, you can see they're proposing a wall, a dividing wall sort of thing, to split parking for number 7 and parking for number 11. But it's not actually to safeguard access to the houses behind. And perhaps, yeah, if you just slide down a little bit, Nick, we can see the. Oh,
Yeah.
Still proposing to extend the crossover and dropped curb on Port Hill. We had concerns about because it restricts the amount of on-street parking. So there was a space outside 11, which will basically disappear because of the drop curb, the extension to the drop curb. So, any observations from anyone?
I support your concerns as you've outlined them, Chairman, including the detail, in particular, really, the detail about the loss of an on-street parking place in order to give parking on site, which in itself may not be comfortable for the people living behind. So for me, the chief problem now is around parking, both on site and
in their design access statement, they say, oh, well, it's only the space for number 11. Instead of the car being on the street, it can now be on site. But just looking at the sort of jaunty angle that they're proposing to use to get a car on and off, and there's a brick wall there. I don't know. I'm not comfortable with it. So I think we have concerns about this application, Nick, with regard to the proposed crossover and the loss of on-street parking.
I'd echo your concerns as well, Chair.
I mean, as far as the access, and you can see the footpath on the left of the image there, as far as that's concerned, there was a dog leg in the last proposal that seems now to have sort of straightened up a bit. And they were going to dodge parked cars at one time. Is this now better?
But there is a danger that the cars for number 7, if they're not parked very carefully, they would impinge on the walking vehicles.
Yeah, so I think, Nick, we're still concerned about the provision of parking for number 7, a parking space for number 7. Alongside the footpath access for numbers 9A to 9D. and whether there's a safety concern there. I mean, I think our view, if we're frank, was that it's a 2-bedroom cottage, period cottage, and if you want something bigger, move. I think was our view on the last application. I believe, is this now a single-story side extension, where before I think it was a double-story?
Correct.
Is it more acceptable?
Yes.
Councillor Ruffles, was that a yes, it's more acceptable? Or?
Yeah, I think, yeah, I don't have the concerns I had before about the actual build. It's the parking thing, and it's the parking, just harking back to that, which you don't want to do, is characteristically in the street. People have still kept small front gardens along that road. So the character of the street sort of says, why should this one in particular have a parking place? I know number 7 has historic reasons, but as far as your question is concerned, Chairman, I'm more relaxed on the actual build and its relationship with other properties.
Right.
I agree with that, yes.
Yeah, and actually, looking at what more of a livable space, I suppose, as a small. So there's no additional bedrooms as such. It's just providing much more usable space. So where the lounge, was effectively the front hall, wasn't it, as well? The opening was into the side of the building there. This does make it a more usable family space. So I think we just need to comment about the loss of front garden as well, Nick. It's a characteristic of this row of houses that they've all had front gardens, and this would create a precedent in the conservation area, in this sensitive conservation area. So I think we've got to move on to the next application. So is that now, sorry, if I could just confirm, are we commenting or objecting overall?
I think we're objecting, aren't we, at that stage? But perhaps our position on the listed building consent is different, isn't it? Having heard what Councillor Ruffles said.
Yeah. So I think these are concerns rather than an overall objection, Nick.
There's concerns on both the Chairman, on both the planning application and the listed building consent. Is that correct?
Indeed.
Just concern. Okay. Thank you.
So we move on to land to the rear and adjacent to 13 Port Hill. We considered at our last meeting, so I'm not quite sure how it found its way back onto paper B again. I noticed that our comments haven't been uploaded onto the application. But we considered this on our last meeting, and we objected, Nick. Just for the record.
Right. Thank you.
So if we look at 1560 Avenue next. So this is the corner plot, isn't it, opposite the school up at Seal School? And it is quite a large plot.
No, it's not near Seal School.
Pardon?
Bengio School, is it?
Benjo.
Sorry, Benjo School. What am I talking about? Absolutely. Ah, you're awake. Just testing.
Yeah, just about.
Yeah. So this is quite a large extension that proposing, but it is quite a large site. I don't know how people feel about it.
I'm struggling to hear Councillor Torrega.
Yeah. We're
Sorry.
struggling to hear you, Councillor Torrega. I don't know whether there's a dodgy cable or...
It's very crackly and jerky.
Sorry, I've just had a new cable installed, so sorry about this. I don't know what's going on.
Can't hear you very well at all.
I
No,
don't know.
really sorry, can't hear
You're
you.
not connected through your
Whatever with
phone
you.
and through your computer, are you, Councillor Toega? There seems to be like a bit of feedback going on.
Okay.
You've got two microphones going or something.
I'm shutting down another computer.
Right. Okay. So we were considering 1560 Avenue. Any comments?
Well, it's notionally in the conservation area, but I mean, I don't think you particularly want to conserve that building. It's more a question about what it looks like after it's been extended, and if it's still a decent looking building, I don't think we should object. Now, I'm not absolutely sure that this is a decent looking building. It looks a little strange to me, but
It wasn't particularly beautiful before. I don't know whether...
no, but this doesn't make it any more beautiful. It's quite the opposite, really. It's pretty.
So we can see at the bottom there existing, and then at the top new. We can see obviously what they're doing is with the front porch or whatever is being extended out, so there's a dormer over the top of it. I mean,
yeah, well, look what's happening to the windows, and massive, great windows in the roof. I mean, that's okay. That's in the rear, I suppose. So,
that's at the rear, and as you can see,
I mean,
those windows, those dormers already exist.
Do they? Yeah. Okay.
Very American, doesn't it?
It's a pretty awful. It's lopsidedness of it that I object to. Really, it just has no symmetry. To
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So I think perhaps it's a comment then, Nick, that the committee is concerned that there's a lack of symmetry to the proposed extension that does not improve the of the building.
And it's quite a prominent site within the conservation area. It's the first buildings you see as you come into Hertford, really. So
It's true.
nice.
I'm also waiting for Councillor Ruffles to mention the loss of chimney.
No, not specifically the loss of the chimney, Chairman, but I agree with the sort of sentiments, particularly Councillor Pinkham's put forward about that site. It stands alone from itself and from the older terrace cottages next door. Its own street is set apart, isn't it? And so it's a great opportunity for a statement, a well-designed statement building on that corner. So I think there's scope to do something quite big, but I take other people's points here. This isn't the answer, I don't think.
So perhaps, Nick, we could also just highlight the fact that it is a prominent site, corner site, as you enter the village of Bengio. I thought Councillor Ruffles' words were very good, but I'm there's an opportunity for better design, I think.
Yeah.
In this prominent site. Then we move on to 18 number 80, Hartingford Bury Road.
While we're waiting on this, it does seem to me that it's this is in the conservation area, but it's the front of these buildings that really counts in terms of what the conservation area looks like, as it were. I've got less concern about what goes on at the back. It's not very pretty what's being proposed, but I'm not inclined to object to it.
Thank you, Councillor Pinkham. I think a lot of what's already there isn't very beautiful either at the rear of these properties. There's a lot of extensions have gone on over the years to the rear.
Chairman, you may remember that the neighbour did approach members of this committee previously when an application came for Hartingford Bury Road number 80, and I think, understood those concerns that they expressed. There was then a subsequent iteration, which the neighbour at number 82, I think it is, found to be in order, and this is smaller than that. So I think that neighbour objection will have well gone away by now on this iteration of the drawing.
It was the height, wasn't it, Councillor Ruffles, that was of concern, I think, to the neighbour. You can't say that about this. So.
And the loss of light, wasn't there? There was, yeah. So I believe that's a no objection then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Nick. Then we move on to number 33, the drive. Which is one half of a semi-detached property. And they're proposing to, we'll get there in a minute. I don't know, we could just have a look at the elevations. Miss Hunter, thank you for your time as well, if you're still with us. Yeah. Yeah, so here we are looking at number 33's drive now. And my only comment really is that it's one half of a semi-detached, and when you put this gable on the end, it makes the pair of properties a little bit unbalanced.
Yeah.
And also the addition of these dormers, but then I noticed that the house next door's got dormers as well, so I'm not sure that there's necessarily, I'm not you know, you have to consider each one in its merit, but I'm not necessarily against the dormers. And then obviously we've got a roof light in the middle as well with the two dormers. Any thoughts?
We're in the conservation area. I think our thoughts would be clarified. I think I'm happy with this.
You're okay? Yeah, I'm okay with it overall. So is it a no objection or no comment?
No comment.
I don't think we can. Don't have a strong feeling about this, Nick. That's fine. It's no comment. On to paper C. And the first application is 1 Card Close. I don't know, is that how you pronounce it?
No, it's Card.
Card Close. Thank you, Councillor Ruffles. You can tell I'm a newbie. I've only been in Hertford 14 years.
Alderman Card was here in 1680, so you just missed him.
It's probably the original spelling, is it, Councillor Ruffles? Oh, I'm blowing my camera. Teach me. So there was an earlier application earlier this year, which was refused by the district. We had no comment to the original application, but it was refused on the grounds of scale. I have to say I can't see that this latest application is much different in scale, but we had no objection. We thought it was quite a large site, I think, and that it would it wasn't, you know, but you can see that you know, quite a large extension over the garage there, and then an extension out the back as well. But overall, we had no objection last time. I don't know, any comments?
No objection.
No, so I think we leave it, Nick, at no objection again. Can let the planners fight it out. The garage at number 279 Ware Road, which we've seen 2 iterations of. Both have been rejected. So I don't know whether people recall. The first one was a double-story garage with a gym and office on top. The second, I think, had a car lift, and the second car was going to go in the eaves of the garage. Do people remember this now?
Yes, very well.
That also got rejected by district. Now we've got is it a single-story garage?
Or bungalow.
Well, quite. It's still the scale of it.
Oh dear.
Still significant scale, isn't it?
I was coming to that.
Councillor Traeger, we are struggling with your microphone still, I'm afraid.
Sorry, I don't know what to do about it.
Does anyone else have any observations?
I still think it's huge. It's far too big.
Yeah.
I'd say it's getting better. I mean, this is the best of the 3.
Yeah.
In terms of the roof line,
But
yes.
but is it in preparation for increasing it at a later date?
Well,
Yeah, you
or
get that
turning it
feeling.
into what it looks like, which is a bungalow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the committee are concerned with this latest application.
Yeah, I'm concerned.
Regarding the scale, size of this building, which is significantly larger than other garages at the rear of Ware Road. I mean, there are other garages, but none of them are of a scale like this. Okay, so I think we now need to move on to Saffron's, St Mary's Lane.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, isn't it, that these come forward as 2 separate, planning applications, because I think when you look at them both together, you start to question the scale of the development that's being proposed. Take them each individually, then you probably don't. I'm not quite sure where that leaves us because we're presented with them individually.
I think we're quite at liberty to sort of, to refer in each, when we consider them, refer to the fact there's another application. Also, which taken, in totality, represents,
Yeah. Well, remembering
overdevelopment in the Greenbelt. I don't know.
I mean, that's the when you actually look at the designs and such like, I don't think there's anything much wrong with it aesthetically. The question is whether we regard this, given that we know that there's 2 applications, as overdevelopment in the Greenbelt.
Yes, I'd agree.
So, is that the view of the committee then, that we are concerned that the 2 applications taken together represent, well, when you say overdevelopment in the Greenbelt, does it lead to a loss of openness?
I think it does, because it makes a much. I don't feel very strongly about this, I have to say, only moderately, but I think it's a much bulkier building. And I guess that's a definition of openness, isn't it?
But by linking up the sort of separate buildings effectively, it does, yeah.
It's a bigger footprint. What it was patio is now building. I mean, that's goes without saying. The whole building itself, if you look at the other application, it makes a much bigger
footprint,
bigger building. But as I say, I don't feel massively strongly about this because of the nature of houses in that area and such like. I don't think it makes that much difference.
Does the fact that our allotment site is over the boundary count for anything? Just to the west of the site, I think, is Hartlebury Road allotment.
allotments.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Is that something we need to worry about? in
There's
terms
quite a
of-
thick hedge, though, isn't there? I
Yeah,
think.
well, there is. So do we want to make some comment about the importance of that as allotment owners, as it were, neighbours?
I
Yeah,
don't think go amiss raising it, certainly as an observation.
yeah, yeah. So, in considering the loss of openness, we note that this site is adjacent to the village allotment.
Yeah.
I think we ought to call them statutory allotments because that gives them a stronger status, as it were.
Thank you. And Councillor Ruffles, yes, the statutory allotments. Nick.
Noted, thank you.
Okay. Well, from glamping in Goldings, we now move to glamping in Foxhalls Farm. Next application, change of use from farmland to a glamping site.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm opposed to this because I think these glamping pods are not tents. We're not talking about here at a campsite where tents go up and down and whatever. These things have got they're fully serviced. They don't go up and down. They stay more or less where they are. I guess they stay there 24/7, 12 months a year. And I think that therefore they do represent a loss of openness in the green belt without any doubt. But I notice, obviously, it's been very, it's been put across as a camping thing. It's not really that.
And I also have concerns about 20 car parking spaces in the green belt. Creating a facility like this, it's got to lead to a loss of amenity and a form of development in the green belt. So I personally do object. There's a campsite actually in very close proximity to Foxhalls Farm.
Yeah, it's just completely unnecessary. If you want to go camping, Hertford's is well equipped.
Indeed.
If I were ever to go camping, this is the sort of camping I'd want to go with a bath and a flushing toilet. But I object to because I'm worried about the loss of the green belt here because what are effectively buildings, aren't they?
Yeah.
So Nick, we do object to this application. And the concerns are that these 12 glamping pods will be permanently erected permanently, lead to a loss of openness, and represents development in the green belt. Also concerned regarding the creation of 20 a car park for 20 vehicles in the green belt. So then we move on to 12 the Avenue. Construction of a single-story garage and workshop with a link to the house. The conservation area.
Chairman, can you hear me?
Yes, sorry.
I saw on the site, on the planning site, that I think it's already been granted with conditions. Is that correct?
12 the Avenue.
Yeah. Or have I misread that?
I'll just get Nick to check that.
Yeah.
You're ahead of me, Councillor Trelega. Well spotted. And by the way, we can hear you crystal clear now.
Oh, thank you. I've got on the phone, so sorry about the.
It is an early application, isn't it? From the number.
It is, yeah.
50.
12 the Avenue.
Yes, Chairman, does look like it has been decided.
Has been granted.
I can just waiting for the details to come up, but looks.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chairman, noted it has been granted planning permission with conditions.
Right. Well spotted, Councillor Traeger. Thank
It
you.
is ugly though, isn't it?
Yeah. So we'll move on to consider 18 Fleming Crescent. And that's, I think it's co-op, isn't it?
No, it's the old what do you call it? The gambling, the
The old, betting shop.
betting shop next to the butchers. It's going to be the community centre for Network Homes.
Right.
Yeah. So a useful addition to the to resolving any issues the tenants may have on site. Which is
Indeed.
Yeah,
Sounds great. It's really
Yeah.
a good idea.
absolutely no objection to that.
Absolutely not. Agreed.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. Much I'd like to welcome it. No objection there, Nick. 30 Molewood Road, ground floor rear extension. Welcome the community hub. It's a great facility. So is Nick frozen?
No, he's moving about.
Just waiting to.
There we go. So again, a rear extension. We just slide down a little bit, Nick, on that image.
Okay.
Any views?
No.
it's tight, but similar to others, isn't it? In that street.
Yeah, that's the
the
issue for me.
problem. Yeah.
And it is single story. I've no objection to this.
No, me neither.
No. Okay. Oh, and we've dealt with the last application already. When I turn the page, the Goldings Rare Breed Farm. So that concludes paper C. And we need to receive and note decisions from paper D. Any observations from anyone?
No.
So then we're on to item 9, which is licensing applications, and there's one on paper E.
I'm going to mute and go off on.
Oh, right. So this is in Railway Street, number 53.
Mm. It's a shop at the moment, isn't it?
It is.
It's is it? I presume it's turning into a bar.
It looks like
Yeah, they
Sounds so
an
small.
old license.
want to have a license to consume both on and off the premises.
It
That's
sounds
true.
so small as a bar. I mean, it's quite.
It's pretty small.
Yeah, but mind you, because there's one in Parliament Square like that. So it's another one of these niche.
Yeah, the one in Parliament Square is sort of a real ale, come micro brewery type.
Well, obviously, the town needs a lot more bars. I mean, that's absolutely crucial to the local economy.
In terms of objections, I believe there's only 4 really that we can consider: prevention of crime and disorder, prevention of public nuisance, protection of children from harm, and public safety. So I don't know whether we have any views as to yet another on and off license. Give us concerns.
The only possible angle I have, because on those categories loosely, is if you have good toilet facilities, then it's a suitable bar. Because if you don't, people may go outside and do their thing. That's the only thing I can think of, but it's a very loose complaint.
And its location?
No, quite right.
Yeah, because that's the trouble. Location, if it's a small venue, people will go round to the riverside, won't they? A bus station.
Yeah.
No bus station toilet, you know.
I think, yeah, our concern, we have got a concern, Nick, regarding the lack of facilities for on licensing.
Ablutions.
And yet another off license. Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
I
like
don't think the
another
town
nail
needs
parlour.
it. But... Sorry, Councillor Lynch.
I said it's like another nail parlour. You seem
Well,
to have lots of them.
I'd like to think the nail parlour is less harmful. In terms of the night economy, do we feel the location of an off license in Railway Street, is that an issue?
There's already 2 other drinking establishments down there, isn't it? We can't sort of say that it's widening the area of the night economy. So
Closes 10, this license, doesn't it?
sorry. Yeah, but they all do it at the moment, don't they? Is it?
Yeah.
It seems a very strange license application. I think it's sort of, it's almost like temporary hours.
We don't get enough real information. It concerns me, the licensing side of things.
Yeah.
I hesitate to make any comment because I don't know that it's going to be an off license. I doubt if it is. But some better idea exactly how this license fits into the existing or the licensee's trade with interest, but we're not told that.
No.
I think that's a very useful input. Thank you, Councillor Ruffles. So I believe, you know, we're finding it difficult, Nick, to make an objective judgment with the limited information that's been provided.
Yeah.
Councillor Ruffles makes a good point about how it fits in with other trading activity. They're asking for a license from 7 a.m. in the morning, you know, till 10 o'clock at night or something, you know.
Like a shop, doesn't it?
No, they're not, are they, Chairman? They're asking for 12 noon until 10.
Oh, sale of alcohol. I beg your pardon. Premises to be open 7 till 10:30. Yes, you're right.
What else is happening? Could start at 7.
And they're offering. I mean, I can see that it could become another one of these mini markets where they sell drink. But it doesn't seem to fit with an ONS. It is very small to actually have people sitting around in. I mean, how many people would you get in there? 10.
So I think we need more information, Nick, regarding what other activities. If it's a shop, then clearly there isn't going to be space for people to drink on the site. And Councillor Traeger makes a good point about the lack of facilities for on-site drinking.
Encourages people to wander around with drink.
Quite. So so I think at the moment we're not in a position to comment because there's a lack of information, Nick. I think would be our view on that. I don't know what timescales are on this application.
On this back.
Chairman, it's on the back.
3rd of December.
Oh yeah, 31st of December. So I don't suppose we'll have an answer before our next meeting.
Well, would it have to come to us for a change of use? Or is it still retail? If it's going to become a restaurant, there'd be a change of use, wouldn't it? I mean,
yeah,
if it's going to become a bar, it'd be a change of use, wouldn't it?
It would have to be for an on-license, you would think.
Which makes me suspicious that there isn't a fundamental change of use, and this license is required for some form of add-in to the existing business, but we don't know that.
Yeah. Well, it could be another one of these excuses for money laundering that we have in the town. Too surprised.
Yeah, Nick.
Chairman, may I suggest, Chairman, that I'll find out some more information from East Herts and circulate that to the committee.
That's very helpful, Nick. Thank you. So item 10 then is any correspondence?
Chairman, no correspondence.
Okay, and then any items for future? Oh, Councillor Bolton, welcome back. Any items for future agendas? Item 11. So that concludes the business of this meeting. Thank you very much for your participation. I would like to wish you all season's greetings, of course, because I don't think we're meeting again until the new year.
Many
So-
happy returns to you
That's
and all members.
Indeed, as some of Hertfordshire gets locked down, as some of you may be aware, moving into tier 3.
Yeah.
Hertford itself has escaped that ignominy.
Last
However, the number of secondary school kids that I'm hearing about testing positive, it is quite alarming actually how this seems to be spreading at the moment. But anyway, I wish you well. I also
Merry Christmas.
would also like to say it's not part of the business, but I'm going to be making a donation to the Mayor's charity this year, and I won't be sending Christmas cards. So on behalf of myself and my wife, can I again wish you season's greetings. Thank you very much, Nick.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman and councillors.
And Nick, one final thought. I haven't physically signed off any meetings, although we've authorised the signing off of minutes. Is the castle open again? Would it be a good idea to get those signed off, or doesn't it matter?
Yeah, we can do. Yeah, I can arrange time for you to come in and we can get them all signed at the same time and sign that after it's put out with business dealt with.
It's the end of the year, and I'm just tidying up as one does. I don't know, so we can have a clean sweep in the new year. So, a very Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy New Year, and we'll see you all.